Next up, there are a number of concerns on the minds of crop producers as planting season ramps up. From hybrid placement to planting rates and depth, producers are working to make sure they're ready to go as soon as conditions are most optimal. Market Journal's Bill Dodd spoke with Mike Hinrichs, owner and operator of Hinrichs Seed Company in Shickley, Nebraska, to learn what producers should be focusing on over the next few weeks.
It's time again to break out the planter and get back into the fields, but before you put your first seeds in the ground, there's a considerable amount of work yet to be done. The biggest concern, however, is the calendar date, which producers will be able to get back into the field. While that projected date is fast approaching for many in Nebraska, you'll still want to make certain that you don't start too early.
It looks like April 9th is a Friday, so I would assume we'll probably see some guys test. If soil conditions are right and temperature's right, I would think we'd have some guys go probably Friday, test the waters. And then I think you'll look at that Monday, the 12th. There'll be a lot of seed. If conditions are right, there'll be a lot of seed put in that week for this area. So temperature on corn germinates at 50. We like to see even if you're in the 40s, it's nice to look at the forecast and make sure that we're getting a nice general warming trend. Up to 50, you don't want to see something where your soil temp's at 40, 45, and you look towards the future forecast and it's saying that ground or air temperature is going to be in the 20s. Might want to hold things back a little bit. Beans germination temperature is at 60 degrees. So again, we want to make sure we have a nice warming trend going forward, so nothing gets rotted out or sits too long. We want a nice even emergence to optimize yield. Going too early when it's wet out is compaction. It all has to do with compaction at that point. When you do go too early, too wet, and you say you don't mess with your down pressure like you should, you can get hatchet roots, which basically the roots are just going to follow right where your planting went. So that can develop a lot of problems later on.
From pest control to disease suppression, hybrids can help with a number of problems that may be pestering your operation. When you're preparing to plant your hybrids in the coming weeks, there are a number of relevant factors to take into consideration. One thing that is highly recommended is to get in contact with your local seed dealer and agronomist to ensure your planned hybrid placement meets your needs and ensures the most productive performance from your seed.
Some of the things that we're doing right now for guys is we're going through hybrid placements. Some of the main things we look at is insect protection. Are we doing above and below ground insecticide? Are we matching them up on the right fields? Making sure that the above and below ground are going corn on corn, the above ground sticking with old bean ground for guys' rotations. That's one of our main concerns. Another thing we look at is where we're going at with disease as far as our hybrids. If somebody has a specific area, say with Goss's wilt pressure, we want to make sure that we're putting the right hybrid in that Goss's area to help prevent any loss there. And then probably the main thing we're looking at is just hybrid placement by field. Not all plot winners are made to go on every single field. Not everybody has 250 bushel corn, so we need to kind of sort that out. If somebody has a low organic hillsides, we need to make sure that it's not necessarily a plot winner, but maybe a hybrid that handles those tough environments really well. So we go through, find our durability hybrids, we find our high yielding hybrids, and then we sit down with the grower and make sure we place them. So that's probably one thing somebody needs to get together, either with their agronomist or their seed dealer, and make sure they're putting the right hybrid on the right field before planting season.
Finally, before you fire up the planter and get into your fields, there are several things you'll want to have finalized with your planter and other systems around the farm to ensure a smooth planting process and easier upkeep throughout the growing season. The first of those things to get in place will be to make sure that your seeding rate and depth are set to the specifications of your seed and all the bugs are worked out.
Planting depth and seeding rate obviously varies a lot by hybrid, especially with the planting rates. Again, talk to your local seed dealer or your agronomist. Some hybrids that have a flex, we don't need to plant at 30, 32,000. The ones that do not flex very good, we probably need to bump that up to 33, 34,000 if you're underneath irrigation. Planting depth is extremely important. If we plant too shallow, we can develop rootless corn syndrome. And also we can start messing up with our crown roots a little bit. If your planting depth gets too deep, right, then you'll have trouble with emergence and your mesocado might get a little too long and again, start messing up with your crown roots a little bit. So planting depth and consistent planting depth throughout the field is extremely important. And I'm back on, getting things ready. Planting monitors are probably a big thing that gets overlooked. Everybody needs to probably get in their tractor, fire up their monitor, get refamiliarized with how the monitor works, what buttons to push. Make sure you talk to your guy and get your planting prescriptions in, get them into the monitor, pull them up, make sure they're what you want. Look at the maps that your agronomist or seed dealer made for you. Make sure that's what you want, and refamiliarize yourself for that, because that's going to take a lot of time that first day to get that monitor right. Big thing I would encourage guys to do is, if you have a date set in your head, if it is the 12th of April, make sure you're going out 2 or 3 days ahead of time, and make sure your fertilizer pumps are going to work. Make sure your seed's calibrated right, your starter pump is calibrated right, and mess with that monitor a little bit. Refamiliarize yourself with that, because that does take a while, and guys will get frustrated and just say the heck with it, and they'll just go. So if you have a date picked on your head, make sure you go 2 or 3 days ahead of time and make sure things are going to work.
Having a good rapport with your agronomist and seed dealer will be essential in getting your equipment up to snuff for the upcoming growing season. If you can get a good plan on your hybrid placement and make sure your equipment is tuned up, you should be well on your way to a successful planting season. Reporting for Market Journal, I'm Bill Dodd.